I think if people are feeling happy and well motivated, it improves their productivity. So for some people they work better in the evening, others work better in the morning or the afternoon. So allowing people to structure their working day, or maybe even their working environment and where they work from, will help them to be more productive. And it doesn't matter why they want to work flexibly, whether it's about family commitments or pursuing their other interests outside of work, maybe even keeping fit, loads of different reasons that people might want to work flexibly. Allowing them to do that is going to make them feel better about work, and that's going to allow them to do their best work and be more productive.
We work in an age now where the quality of our work depends on the quality of our attention. It's not just about showing up to work and how many hours we put in front of the screen. It's really about what thinking are we doing, what decisions are we making, what ideas are we creating, and that does depend on the quality of our attention. So when we're navigating all sorts of things from global time zones to rush hour peak traffic, to family commitments, school runs, looking after elderly relatives, but also our own health and well-being, it makes sense that if we're able to match up our best working hours, our best attention with when we need it, when we need to be at our best, that really helps. So if we're able to take that downtime at lunchtime so that we can still be fresh at 8 o'clock when we're having that really important meeting over the other side of the world, that means we create our best work. So it's a win-win for both our well-being and our personal commitments, but also the work that we do and the quality of the work that we do.
I think what's happened is managers can see that all the people are busy. They can't quite work out what they're doing because all the work's invisible. So what the managers said, we need to open it up. So everyone works in an open plan office, which means the managers can keep an eye, but it just means it's very hard to get any proper work done because the noise level's high, people are interrupting each other the whole time, so they can't really still see. So there's a sort of inflexibility about where we work. And then there's the thing about sort of behaviour. So I see more and more people sort of clocking in. Even in sort of big grown-up companies, people clock into work and clock out, which seems like a really Victorian approach to your people. I mean, do I need to know that you are physically in the building? And what does that tell me? All it tells me is you've clocked in and you haven't yet clocked out. It doesn't tell me what you're doing.
I think some managers don't know how. So when it's not been modelled, there's a question of, well, how do we do that? How do we do that well? There's sometimes a fear that people will take the mick. So, how do we measure, for example, that people are still working well? So the reason why visibility is still measured is because it's really easy to measure. It's easy to see when people turn up to work, how much time they're staring at their desk. But actually, that's a really poor measure of productivity, because somebody can be sat at their desk, but if then actually their brain is not switched on, they're not doing anything productive. So I think the key thing here is to start to measure what matters. So have some really clear goals in terms of impact, in terms of results and progress that you expect somebody to make, and then give them the choice to say, well, how do you work best? How are you going to deliver that? Where are you going to put in the hours? And obviously you need to have those conversations around expectations of when you'll be responsive, when you'll be available. So some managers have, some organisations have core hours, where they go, within this time and this time we do expect everybody to be in and available, but between that you might want to take this time out or this time out. So you might want to start early and leave early, or start later and work later. So you need to have some parameters, there needs to be some clear expectations, and have something clear to measure so that you know what's working and what's not. But I think there's also scope for working it out as you go along. So if you're open to it, your team are open to it, why not treat it as an experiment and see what works and adapt that as you go along? So the benefit for the employer is that actually you're going to get your employees' best work. So if an employee can choose, if we have the autonomy to choose, how do we do our best work? When do we do our best work? It means we're going to do that far more often. We're not fighting against the system. And I think the other side of it is as well is that when we have that autonomy, we can do our work better and quicker. We actually have more time for life outside of work, which means that we recharge better, we come back more refreshed, and we have better ideas when we come back. So I think it's win-win for both the employer and the employee.
So for the employer, it's about having employees who are engaged, they're motivated, And if people are trusted to work in a flexible way, I think that makes them feel more valued as well. So I think there's something really important there. Difficult to measure, for sure, but something really important for that individual member of staff to help them give their best and give the best attention they can to the role that they're doing.
So organisations talk about customer responsiveness. So for me in the modern workplace, the big challenge is there's a tension between, on the one hand, the need we all have to sort of get our heads down and do some proper work, high value work, which needs long periods of time with no interruptions whatsoever, on the one hand. And on the other end of the spectrum, if you like, there's the need to respond to customers, other external stakeholders, people around us, emails, instant messenger, all this stuff. So people are caught between these two things, and I don't think that many organisations have found a way to resolve this. But a bit of clarity would help in terms of expectations of response time, for example. And in terms of flexible working, there's a great opportunity, which is, first of all, everyone has all the tech they need to work pretty much anywhere in the world. If you've got an iPad and a mobile phone, that's sort of, for most jobs, that's all you need. So the tech is there. You don't need to go to the office to have the tech. The second thing is the current bad trends in the workplace ignore the sort of human side of things. So I guess there's two components to that. People have different times of day in which they're productive, right? So I'm a morning person, some people are evening persons. It would be ridiculous if I was an evening person, that I spend 9 to 5 in an office acting like a sort of corporate zombie, and it's only when I walk out the door that I suddenly become able to do stuff. So some flexibility around the timing really helps. And I guess the other thing is, touching on the bad habits at the moment, that what doesn't matter is, it doesn't matter where you are, clocking in, clocking out doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't matter the number of hours that you do. What really matters is the quality of the work that you do. And I don't hear many organisations talking about that. So what we try and do at Think Productive is get organisations and people talking about the right way to do things. And we're starting to have that conversation, and we think that's going to really help.
I think it's about identifying what are the needs of the business, and it's about sharing that responsibility across the team. So if phones need to be answered between 9 and 5, doesn't mean that everybody has to be in between 9 to 5. It means somebody needs to be there. So thinking about how those responsibilities can be shared out. I think flexible working is often seen as a benefit. You wouldn't in a workplace have lots of other benefits where it's down to the discretion of the line manager as to whether people get it or not. You would say, no, my manager doesn't believe in pensions, I'm not going to get one of those. So the same needs to apply to flexible working. It should be, let's find a reason to make this work. Let's have a go at testing out how it could operate, how it could work for our team. And there'll be problems with that. So let's think of ways to identify how we overcome the problem, how we get creative about implementing solutions, rather than saying, well, we're not going to do it at all.